Hi guys, welcome back to Canada Top to Bottom. Apologies that there hasn't been a video for a while. Sometimes life gets in the way of making videos, and so it's been, but we're back now and we will continue to be back. We're going to keep making videos. So, lots of news with the express entry draws. You might remember for the most of the second half of last year, there was a draw, express entry draw every second Wednesday, seemed to be regular as clockwork, go, go, go. Then they just stopped, no one knows why. Same reason they resumed randomly in June. No one knows why. But they did resume. They then stopped out the blue.
In November last
November
year.
23rd in 2022. They completely stopped. And then they picked up again out the blue. God forbid the IRCC be unpredictable on January the 11th. And then there have been 2 all-program draws so far in 2023. All-program means that they take from all 3 streams of express entry. If you're not sure, we've got loads of videos explaining what express entry is all about. So an all program draw is when they take from all 3 streams, and they invited 5,500 people in each of those draws. And the CRS cutoff score, again, if we're talking a language that you don't understand, check out our videos. The CRS cutoff score dropped to 490. And then on February 1st and February 2nd, there were 2 surprise draws back to specific program draws for the first time since June 2022. So it's really all over the place. 893 people were invited in a provincial nominee program specific draw. That means it's people who only for people who have a provincial nomination. So if you're just in the express entry pool, doesn't matter what your score is. If you don't have one of those coveted provincial nominations, then you wouldn't have been drawn. And then the next big news was on the February the 2nd draw.
So the next day.
Which
is unheard of. They did it the next day.
Hurry up and wait is the policy. 3,300 people invited the next day, but this time in a specific draw only for federal skilled workers. So federal skilled workers, that's how we came to Canada, generally just get drawn. So whenever there's an all program draw in express entry, federal skilled workers, the kind of people that make up most of the express entry pool, and they get drawn, but they don't often get drawn specifically. It's not often that they're
never
IRCs. No, never.
It's never happened before in the history of express entry. Why now? No one knows. Just federal skilled workers.
I'm just reading the news. So they had a federal skilled worker specific draw, and then the score dropped to 489. It's the first time it's dipped under 490 actually since draws resumed. So should we have a look at the current makeup of the express entry pool?
Yeah, so currently in the express entry pool, you have a maximum amount of points of 1,200. That's the maximum you can have. The amount of people above 500 at the moment is about 2,500, roughly 2,500 people with over 500 points. And between 491 and 500, you've got 1,350 people. So if, adding all that together, if they did another draw and took 5,500 people, then the score has to drop below 490. So that's what we're looking at now. The current makeup of the pool is that a lot of these high scoring candidates have now been taken away, and if your score is hovering around the 490, high 480s, you're in with a good shot the next time. So that's the current makeup of the express entry pool. Express entry draws are completely unpredictable. We can't predict anything now. It used to be every 2 weeks. Now who knows? Seems we're finally heading back to what draws may have looked like pre-COVID, and because of that, we're predicting that there's going to be a Canadian experience class specific draw soon enough, because that's what it used to be. There used to be specific Canadian experience class draws. There used to be specific PNP draws, never federal skilled worker specific ones, but maybe that's what they're going for now, specific draws. So watch this space. Second thing we're going to just briefly talk about now is there has been a big change to spousal open work permit eligibility. So we'll briefly mention this because we're going to do a video all about the new rules for this. But basically the spouses of foreign workers who are currently in Canada used to be eligible for an open work permit as a spouse only if the worker in Canada was a skilled worker, so in a high skilled position. But now the rules have changed. And even if your spouse who's working in Canada is in what's deemed as a low skilled working position, the spouse who is outside of Canada is now going to be eligible for an open work permit, which is wonderful news for people in Canada whose spouses outside of the country weren't eligible because of the level of their occupation. But now that's changed. You can have any occupation of any level and your spouse is going to be eligible for an open work permit, which is really nice news for a lot of people here. And the final thing we're going to mention today is there's going to be a new English test added. So at the moment, you have 2 English and 2 French tests for eligibility for language tests to immigrate to Canada. And as of sometime late 23, unspecified as exactly when, but sometime in late 23, there's going to be a new English test added called the Pearson's Test for English, or the PTE Essential. And apparently, all we know at the moment is that it's going to be aimed at a more Canadian market rather than British and Australian accented and that kind of market. And it apparently is going to be more appropriate for those for whom English is a second language. So that's our 3 big pieces of news. The big news for express entry draws: new spousal open work permit eligibility and new English test.
See you soon.